Planning an event and wondering how you can give your attendees the best experience possible? Take advantage of customized meetings with Hilton that make it easier than ever to incorporate health, wellness, entertainment, and waste reduction. From yoga and yogurt morning starts to puppies and ice cream afternoon breaks, Hilton will help you build an extraordinary meeting that attendees will remember. To book your next meeting or event, go to meetings.hilton.com. That's meetings.hilton.com.
Are you a follower? Okay, so we're gonna be
Welcome to GatherGeeks, a podcast by BizBash, the place where people passionate about meetings and events come together. Here are your hosts, BizBash CEO David Adler and Editor-in-Chief Beth Kormanik.
Hi, David.
Hey, Beth. Here we are, another GatherGeeks.
Yes, and today we're joined by Colin Cowie, who is founder of Colin Cowie Lifestyle. He has 30 years of designing truly special events. One of the first celebrity event professionals, he has been on several of our top event designers lists over the years. He's the author of multiple books on weddings, style, and entertaining. He's originally from Zambia and now based in New York, and fittingly, his events happen all over the world. He also happens to be a delight personally, surely a key to his success and very easy to talk to. You caught up with him, David, at a photo shoot with the theme of first impressions.
Yeah, we teamed up with a group called Zipster, and we did a live photo shoot. We did the interviews right along with the photo shoot, so some of the sound could feel a little bit authentic.
Well, in this conversation, he's going to talk about business development, or in his words, how he seduces clients, and then why he sometimes chooses to fire clients. He will talk about finding inspiration and then ruthlessly editing ideas until you come up with the best one. So let's listen.
So we're here doing this sort of special art project on first impressions. I know you have a theory on first impressions and how people enter a room or get an invitation or see something or feel something. What is your theory behind this?
You've got 2 to 3 seconds to make a first impression, and for me, I always like to appeal to the senses, what you smell, touch, taste, see, and hear. And the brain is able to assimilate that, and you get a snapshot. And I want people to walk and say, wow, oh my God, I can't believe they did this. Because that's how we make a first impression, right? And it's the same thing. It doesn't matter whether it's an event or how you walk into a room or how you introduce yourself.
But what's the sense that now is the most powerful? That you try to program for?
The sense that is most powerful is because I think the most overused word in our industry today is experience. And everyone is looking for an experience. And what sets one experience apart from another is when you can call it an authentic experience. So it's really a combination of what you smell, touch, taste, see, and hear. When those senses come together, that's how we seduce you. So there's not one that's more important than the other. It's a combination of how we use them and how we use them in harmony to set one another up for success.
And how do you program that? How do you physically, you plan these things and people are dependent upon your, setting the stage for all this stuff. How does that physically happen? How does it come out of your brain?
It's like you're always looking for opportunity to make it better. For instance, when you walk into a room, I like the lights to be a little bit brighter and I like the music to be a little louder. But when you sit down for dinner, the volume comes down so I don't have to strain my voice. The lights come down. As we get later, the lights come down a little bit later. And then when we start to dance, all hell breaks loose and the volume goes up. So it's like looking at all those things and making sure that when you serve a dinner, that the first course that goes down, it has texture, it has temperature, it's three-dimensional. You look and say, wow, this is appealing. You've got one chance to make a first impression. So
but are you making first impressions all night long? Or are you making a first impression once?
No. That's laziness.
Okay.
You're continually looking for opportunity to further seduce. It's like morning, noon, and night. We do a lot of work with real estate developers. So it's the same analogy. For me, an elevator is an opportunity to tell a story. Most people, you get in and it's a bright white light, and if the doors weren't closed, you think you want to jump out and commit suicide. But for me, it's an opportunity to tell a story. So the music in the elevator, the classical music in the morning at 8 o'clock is bright and it's light, and the light is probably at 100 degrees. At noontime, we bring it down a bit. At 6 o'clock in the evening, it's a different rhythm. The light is down and the volume comes up a bit. By midnight, it's different music. The lighting has come way down, and the volume has come down. So it's always looking for opportunity to tell the story. We never switch the lights on and switch the volume on. You're continually manipulating and enhancing all those senses so that you can tell a story with a carefully thought out beginning, middle, and end.
But you really are a programmer of human interaction.
Without a doubt. In fact, I've actually come up with this term, Colin Cowie, hospitainment.
Hospitainment. Okay, that's a new one. Okay.
Which is the crossroad where traditional hospitality meets programmed entertainment in a way that we get to tell a meaningful story.
And storytelling, we've talked to others about that. You create the narratives.
Yes, I think,
And what is your feel? How do you do that? How do you write the narrative?
Every person, every couple, every car, every hotel, every product has its own DNA. So I think when we start with that DNA, and we apply these things like the senses or what you smell, touch, taste, see, and hear, that's the first way we tell the story. It's further enhanced and manipulated morning, noon, and night. Add to that spring, summer, winter, fall, we're looking at different colors, different textures, different temperatures, and it allows us to tell a unique story every single time. And that way, when you look at the body of work, no two things will ever look the same because it starts with a unique DNA.
And nothing will ever be the same twice in a row.
No, never. And I think it's our responsibility to listen deeply and to tell stories. To be a good storyteller, you have to be a very good listener.
How do you listen to your clients deeply? Like, what is the technique that somebody listening to this?
Okay, so I think I'm rather good at this. First of all, we Google as much as we can. We find out the good, the bad, and the ugly before we even meet you. And then when you come into the office, I only meet my clients between 4 and 6 o'clock in the evening.
Why?
Because in the conference room, on the coffee table, in a sterling silver ice bucket, is an open bottle of champagne, red wine, and white wine. There's snacks and there's food set out. There's music playing. There's candles lit. It's the seduction. I need to give them what I'm going to sell to them, right? And I'm able to disarm them. They get seated in a certain area so they can look through the glass conference room, see the beautiful lobby, and think, I'm in the right place. Right? So I'm telling my story at the same time preparing to tell their story.
So their first impression becomes crucial.
Their first impression becomes crucial, and then we get them to open up. And it's personalized. There's an intern downstairs outside the elevator waiting, who's got a visual picture of you, can say, welcome, Mr. Smith, welcome to Colin Cowie Lifestyle. Brings you in the elevator, puts you in seat 1 or 2. I come in, make the green. It's all rehearsed and thought out. Your name is on our screen. There's a slideshow that we've customized according to what we think that you might like or want. We also like to do a small interview with the clients before they come in so we can be well prepared.
What does that look like? Who does it? You're an assistant or
Usually there's an online form that we do.
Okay.
And then while the meeting is being set up, we say, would you mind answering a few of these questions so we can anticipate your arrival? People love it. They always get involved.
And so the seduction happens, but you're just reading what they like. You're figuring out. You're deeply
yes,
getting
when you ask
involved
questions, where do you vacation? Do you have a favorite color? Can you identify a favorite flower? What are your favorite restaurants? Is there a particular designer you like? How do you entertain in your home? How do you prefer to be entertained? Where do you go when you travel? And you get people to open up, and people love talking about themselves.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And then all of a sudden, you don't realize how much they bring to the table. And then, of course, she's got a Pinterest board, and there's a Facebook page, there's an Instagram account that you can go and look at. And you take all those ideas, and great style comes from ruthless editing. I think in a world that's completely oversalted today, it's about knowing what 90% to say no to, so I can figure out what 10% I can use to tell a smart, intelligent conversation. So we take all their ideas and say we use these on Friday, these on Saturday, these on Sunday, these going to the parking lot, or we might never get to use them. And that way, we are telling their story with their ingredients. So once again, it's not about us, it's all about them.
But what goes on in your brain and your sort of creativity to pull out what you think is important about them, and that they may not even realize? I mean, how do you crystallize? You have to crystallize the moment for them.
When you look into someone's eyes, you create a connection.
Yeah.
And I've had meetings that I really wanted the job, but we just didn't connect.
Yeah.
And there's times when we've just connected, and I know these are going to be my best friends for life.
Right.
Which happens most of the time. I remember having a big birthday a few years ago, and I looked at the table and I took half the table down the aisle to get married. Right. So you get that wonderful rapport going. They start to drop little nuggets of gold and jewels and pearls, and you start to work with those. And you can find it when someone's excited about something. And it all stays in your visual. We're all very visual people. Right. So you start to take those ideas and you start to, once again, it's the ruthless editing. It's the same thing when you're making a salad dressing. A great salad dressing's got no more than 4 or 5 ingredients in it. So it's about knowing what to say no to and how to edit what they bring to the table.
And how do you, though, when you're how do you get it so that they are intimate? I mean, intimacy seems to be you have to cross this little line.
Alcohol.
Alcohol does that.
Booze. That's why I take all my meetings between 4 to 6 o'clock in the evening.
You really do believe
Absolutely.
that you need to sort of be more intimate and
Well, the idea, if someone's coming to plan a party, to sit on the other side of a desk with me is completely wrong.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, it's them and it's us.
Yeah.
Whereas we can sit in a living room environment, there's a lovely ice bucket in front of us, it's gorgeous orchids, and you look around, it's beautifully decorated. I've already disarmed you. I've already put you in the environment of entertaining versus you versus me.
So the experience of going through the experience of creating an event is part of the experience.
Yes, because if you don't do it, there used to be a time when a client would come to us and would speak to us exclusively. Now every client speaks to 3 people.
Right.
So there was a time when we closed 80% of every deal that walked in the door. Now it's 50. So, your tongue is out to here. We're all working twice as hard to close that deal. So you do everything that you're going to sell to them, you use to embrace them, to seduce them, and to enhance the experience.
How do you seduce a whole audience for a cause? It's not a social event, but what is your techniques to seduce a large crowd?
I love public speaking, and I love this industry, and I feel I've built over 30 plus years an incredible intellectual property, and I kind of feel that when we're blessed with this, we don't own it, right? We get given ideas from the universe and we become a conduit for it. And the more we're generous with it and the more we share, the more we get given to share. So I kind of look at it from that point of view.
So you're like a preacher. You're like a preacher of...
It's a social responsibility to share.
Yeah.
And I get so much pleasure. I mean, I do these speaking engagements all over the world. Once a month I'm somewhere sharing information. And so many people come up and say, I got involved in this business, or I bought your first book 19 years ago, or whatever it might be. My greatest gift is giving. I mean, that's why I'm in this business. Think about it. All the people that you speak to, someone said to me earlier on, isn't it amazing that you all like one another? So, well, the interesting thing is we're all nice people, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be in this business.
Yeah, it's called hospitality.
Exactly.
But it's a business that is more important than people think it is. Because sometimes we have a low self-esteem if you're in the business because you're just hosting a party. But people don't realize how important these new town squares are becoming, and the ideas that are generated out of the cues that you're setting for bringing people together and letting them talk to each other.
Yes, and I also think, there's such an ability to share today, and it's good in one way and bad in another way. I used to love to go to Japan or go to Rio or go to Lima, Peru or Delhi, India, and go and see what's happening in the industry. And because of Pinterest and because of Facebook and because of Instagram, it all looks the same now.
Yeah.
Because we're all being inspired by one another, and they're all buying from the same factories in Indonesia, India or China. So on the flip side, it's not the best part, but I do love the fact that we get to share information the way that we do share information.
I remember you talked about your refrigerator and your ices. Tell us the theory of why you like to really carefully detail out the ice cubes in your home.
No, the ice cubes is I like everything.
Everything
to be pretty.
Okay. So
I like
describe your refrigerator.
I like everything to be visually appealing at all times.
Okay.
Even when I get up in the bed and my housekeeper will make the bed and iron the pillow and whatever it might be, but I still pull the bed covers up because I don't want to walk past an untidy bed. I just have an eye like that. So my refrigerator, in the freezer are drawers with different shaped ice cubes for different drinks. So for instance, if I'm going to sip a fine tequila out of a champagne flute, I use long slivers. If I'm going to savor a single malt scotch in a gorgeous big rocks glass, it's got a big round sphere. Just as when you're on the other side of the refrigerator, all the bottles go from tallest to smallest, all the labels are at the front, so it's completely merchandised. When you open up the cutlery, all the forks are inside of one another, so the knives, they go from largest to smallest. I just like order. I think I have a rather chaotic mind because that's how I think. So I've created these disciplines of extreme order to streamline the way that I work and create a sense of order around me. I have a great analogy. When I was in my 20s, I had the greatest hardware and no software. At 50 plus, I've never had a better software program, and the hardware is still good.
That's great. That's great.
And I think what it is, it's 30 plus years of creating good habits, and those good habits become your personal intellectual property and give you the ability to trade that with other people. And that's why people come to you.
So go back to, I always like to figure I see how people started in terms of high school. Were you this way in high school? You were in the military, you talked about
Yes,
as well.
I was in high school and I went to a very formal school, Selborne College, and it was mandatory to go to the military. So I spent 2 years in the military, 1 year in the operational area in southern Angola and Namibia. And then I didn't believe in the political climate in South Africa, didn't want to spend my hardest working years in South Africa, not knowing what the future might have been at the height of apartheid. So I came to the United States with $400, a big dream, one well-cut suit, and an ever-present suntan.
So how did you create this empire?
I started.
It's a simple question, but a complex
No, it's
answer.
interesting. I got a job at a catering company, and I watched what they did, and I chopped, sliced, diced, and peeled, and did what you did. And I looked and figured, that's the rental company. This is how they do it here. And 6 weeks later, I resigned and started my own business.
What business was that?
It was called, and I started, it's funny, in those days, way before anyone was using the term lifestyle, I called it Colin Cowie Lifestyle. And it was a small catering company, and I ended up doing a luncheon for a family I'd met the year before in the south of France, and it was Larry Terman, the producer from the movie The Graduate. And I went to their house for lunch, and his wife cooked a whole side of salmon. She wrapped it in foil and stuck it inside the dishwasher and put it on steam. And I thought, my God, there's a grill outside. Why wouldn't you cook it on a grill? And she told me she was having a party in 2 weeks' time for LACMA, one of the museums. Yeah. So I said, I'll help you with the party. And I did the party, and there were all these celebrities at the party. And that's kind of how it got started.
Wow.
In those days, it was when everyone was doing all this California cuisine. So they'd take a piece of chicken and they'd beat the hell out of it, and they'd marinate it, and they'd put it on a bed something, and a salsa on top and another something on top. And I was doing branzino with arugula salad, radicchio and Belgian endive, and angel hair pasta with tomato sauce, and kind of started this new, cleaner way of entertaining. It seemed to caught on rather quickly.
So, and then what was the next thing that happened? The big break?
I think the big break was to make extra money. I was teaching cooking classes at the Beverly Hills High School adult program. I remember one day a lady said to me, "Can you freeze pasta?" I said, "Why would you want it? It takes 8 minutes to cook." And one of the students in the class was the wife of the president of Playboy. And Hugh Hefner was getting married to Kimberly Conrad in 1989. And she said, "Would you come and be a food consultant?" So I went to see what they were doing, and it was too terrible. There was like a Mexican station and a this and a that. And I looked and I said, I don't know, but if I were to do this, this is what I would do. And I retold the story about 8 or 9 times. And the 9th time, each time it got bigger and better, Hugh Hefner was standing in front of me in his pajamas. He said to me, "Can you do this?" And I had 2 months to do it. I said, "Absolutely." I had no clue how I was going to do it. And I probably think it was probably one of the best produced events I'd ever done. Really? And I had no idea how much press would be generated by this event. And this was like pre-internet, so everything was, black and white and paper. And I think it was like 2 volumes as thick as the Yellow Pages, which most people don't know what the Yellow Pages are anymore, with the type of press that it generated. And that was my big break.
Wow.
When's the big event? Hilton is here for planners with their exclusive customized meetings. Become a wow maker and save time by letting Hilton help you present an extraordinary event, one that leads to memorable and meaningful connections. Visit meetings.hilton.com and let Hilton help you.
And so here's the one question I have for you. Okay, you're Colin Cowie. People don't realize you're the sweetest, nicest person in the world, but they know that you are such an expert in all this. How do you not intimidate your friends? And how do you keep it so that they're not concerned that you're judging them?
Because I think that,
and you're so nice too.
I think you can't take yourself seriously,
exactly.
And I don't believe in pretense.
Yeah, I know.
If you're pretentious and you believe you're more important than someone else, like where does the truth start and where does it stop, and who do you put the show on for and who do you not put the show on for? I think you live a much better quality life with 2 feet on the ground when you can look someone in the eye and just be you.
But how do you tell your clients that have the ego problems that they gotta come back to earth a little bit? That you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Often. And when they don't listen, I give them their money back and say, "We are far too fabulous. We work too hard, and I always look after my team of people. At least twice a year, I give someone back their check."
Really?
Yes, because clients come and go, but your team are the most important. You're no one without your team. And when you look out for your team, you buy amazing loyalty. So if someone comes in and they have bad attitude, I can let it slide once. If they behave badly a second time, but if you make someone cry, it's over, it's finished, and there's a point of no return. Because if you're doing the flowers, you have a limited exposure to the client. If you're the caterer, you have a limited exposure. We are intimately involved. We get into bed with them for 9 to 12 months at a time. So it's only going to get worse. It's never going to get better. So you need to know when to exit, as with everything in life.
I totally agree with you.
I believe in the power of yes, but I believe in the power of no.
That's important. Yes. That's very important. Do you? How does somebody who's listening to this and say, "I want to be you"? What training do they need? Like, how do you learn? You've learned a ton of stuff, like cooking and having the taste level. How did they aspire to what you're doing?
I also think I have to thank my parents and be grateful from where I come from. Born in Central Africa, Zambia, we had one country club we belonged to, not a restaurant or hotel that you would set foot into. And my parents were very gracious and very generous, and there were always people in our house. There were always house guests. There were always people coming over for cocktails. My parents entertained wonderfully, and I grew up with the generosity of spirit. I've always wanted to make it good for other people. And when I came to this country in 1985, having lived through apartheid, I felt like I'd been working in black and white painting with my left foot, because all of a sudden I was in Hollywood and had every single idea and means available to us. And that was the very early part of our careers. In talking about first impressions, I remember when there was so much polyester in the tablecloth. There was more plastic in there than in my credit cards, right? And there was a white plate with a gold rim and one with a silver rim. There was a folding chair and a Charivari. There were no bar height tables in those days. We used to take a regular table and put 18 inches of PVC pipe to give us bar height. So we're like really inventive. But my whole life I've always looked at ways to do things differently. And I have a very, very curious mind. So it's insatiable. And as a traveler, I've probably traveled more than 14 million miles in close to 100 countries. And wherever I go, I learn more. And, you learn what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and that becomes your intellectual property.
What is your suggestion for people to travel to when they are curious? What is your practical aspect?
Try and meet someone local.
Local, number
Absolutely.
one. That's the rule.
Try and meet someone local. Go to the local market completely. And, I think when your mind is in the right place, the universe supports you. Right? You will find the right things. When you put good things out there, the universe will support you and bring good things back to you.
Right. I want to end with a couple of first impressions. Like, I want your one-word answer of impressions. I'm going to just say something and you tell me what your first impression was. New York City.
Insanely, fabulously amazing. The greatest city to leave, but the best city to come back to.
Los Angeles.
Great city. Wonderful weather.
America.
Nowhere else on the planet could I have arrived with $400 and done what I've been able to accomplish in my life. Extremely, extremely grateful.
The Great Wedding.
Almost as good as the next one.
What else? How about Colin Cowie? What do you think? What's your first impression? If you were looking at you, what would it be?
I'm very proud of who I've become. I've worked very, very hard. My heart's been in the right place. I've always thrown 120% of myself into everything, and very, very happy where I am, doing what I'm doing, in the city that I'm doing, how I'm doing it.
And I 100% agree with you. You are an incredible person, and you are so giving to everybody that we've known, and it's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, David. Thank you for making me so welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right, David, we're back in our studio. One of the buzzwords I'll take away from this interview is hospitainment, which Colin defined as traditional hospitality meets programmed entertainment to tell a meaningful story.
Absolutely. I think he's got it nailed in terms of everything is planned. It may look casual in some ways, but every single aspect of what he does is pre-thought out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it brings in the element of hospitality, which of course is part of events, but maybe people just think that relegate that word to hotels, when really it's something that all event professionals have to be doing.
And it's really this whole experiential thing that we talk about. It really brings it to life when you do an event like that, like the way he does.
Yeah, another thing that really got me thinking was his take on finding inspiration. He says that event professionals are all getting inspired by the same things because of social media. They're seeing the same images on Instagram and Pinterest. And that's entirely possible, making trends spread even faster. But it also makes it that much harder for event designers to catch themselves from following the herd. And they have to be even more creative and more original to stand out.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what we try to do at BizBash is really give people a way to peek over the fence in different ways and see what's going on, but be original.
Mm-hmm. And another point I thought he articulated really well is that event designers build up a sense of intellectual property. I think you used that phrase 2 or 3 times during your conversation. And Colin may be attuned to this after having published books, or because he's likely seen his work copied, appropriated, or inspired others, to say it kindly. But, it's an important thing to think about, and a concept that lends itself to the professionalization of the industry, realizing that you do have intellectual property when you come up with these events.
Yeah, I mean, I think our industry is growing up and people are being very proprietary about what they have created, not necessarily the vendors that they choose, but the products that they're creating.
Right, exactly. So great style, great insights, and great interviews. So thanks, David.
Great. So Beth, what's going on at BizBash?
Well, as July is coming to a close, that means that time is running out to enter the BizBash Event Style Awards. There are categories for corporate and nonprofit event concepts, trade show booth design, use of social media, sponsor activation, staging and set design, event technology. I could go on. So what I'm really trying to get at here is that there's something for everyone. I know that this is on people's minds right now because the volume of calls and emails with questions has picked up as everyone is trying to make their entries perfect. So check out the rules and categories at bizbash.com/awards and get yourself recognized.
Do you know, also on this award program, I remember using awards all the time, the award the people that won and the runners up, to get inspiration on other things that I should be doing for my events. And I think that it's not just the entering of it, but it's to go back and keep seeing who is doing what and who is being recognized.
Well, one thing we do is we publicize the winners and the finalists so that we can share these great ideas that are worth recognizing.
Right. So let's close the show. First of all, I want to thank our producers, Dave Nelson, who puts our show together, Claire Hoffman, who puts our content and creates all of our information so that we can distribute it properly, and Rebecca Pappas, who actually gets it out there. So thank you to our team, thank you to our listeners, and thank you to our staff of editors and writers and reporters who keep us so up to speed on this industry that we love.
Gather on, David.
Yeah, gather on.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Player FM, Google Play, and Pocket Cast. Be sure to leave us a rating and review. It helps others discover the GatherGeeks podcast. We'd also love to hear from you. You can leave feedback on Twitter at GatherGeeks or leave us an email, gathergeeks@bizbash.com. We hope you'll join us again for the next episode of GatherGeeks. Until then, gather on. A leader in event education, the Event Leadership Institute offers on-demand video classes, interviews with industry mavericks, and online instructor-led professional development courses taught by industry experts. Visit eventleadershipinstitute.com for more information and to see a schedule of upcoming classes.